Welcome to How to Be a Person, a podcast about life with me, your host, Giuliano Grimaudo. Tim, what is going on, my friend? Welcome.
Not much. Thank you so much for inviting me on. And, we were talking a bit offline, and I love what you're doing. Most of your episodes make me laugh. So I'm hoping that I can follow up with some of your other episodes and people can get a chuckle out of me as well.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you being here. For anybody, including myself, that doesn't know you, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll go from there?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a recovering college professor. The first time I was tasked with standing up in front of people to talk, I threw up in front of them. And so now what I do is I help people, get rid of the imposter syndrome, relax, and be able to, speak with confidence, become powerful speakers. And, I approach things a little bit differently than most others.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about being on stage. It's about having communication and conversations with people, whether it's one-on-one, two-on-one, in team meeting. I love it. I've heard you say you were an Uber driver having conversations in the cars, but think about it. How many people would you be in a car with that couldn't have a conversation with you?
True. Yeah, it's funny when I was in the car, actually, a lot of times, I feel like half of my job as an Uber driver is trying to figure out if the person actually wants to talk or not. Yeah. But it is funny because sometimes I think, do they not want to talk, or do they just not know how to carry a conversation, or what? So yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, speaking ability is not just, like you said, being able to speak from stage, but also just in a conversation.
Have a conversation.
When you said that the first time you had to speak in front of a group, you threw up, what age were you?
I was in college. And so
really,
I just gotten out of the military. Well, I'd been out of the military a couple of years, and I tell the story a lot where, everybody, you go to college, you have to take this human communications, public speaking course. Everybody takes it. It sucks. It's one of the worst classes ever, right? Because they don't actually teach you how to communicate. They don't teach you any of this stuff. And when I was a freshman, I looked at it and said, I'm not doing this. I dropped it. My advisor said, Tim, if you want to graduate, you got to take the class. And I literally, the very first time that it was my turn to speak, I think we had to give 5, the first one. And this is back before we had laptops and PowerPoints. And so I was using an overhead projector.
Oh, okay.
I threw up. I literally threw up. The professor was horrified, but the students got a good laugh out of it. I got out of that presentation. So I think it all
worked out the way it was supposed to. That's hilarious. So how did you go from like throwing up the first, like literally not feeling like you're going to throw up? Some people are like, I feel like you literally threw up the first time. Yeah. How did you go from that to now teaching people to speak with confidence?
Honestly, it was a struggle. It was because, again, where I was coming from, I knew everything. I knew it all. Nobody could tell me anything. I wasn't asking anybody for any help. I wasn't, I wasn't saying, can you help me do this? Teach me how to do that. I was like, no, I'm smart enough. I can figure this out myself. And, the issue that I had is I always wanted to be a teacher. And so how you can be a teacher if you can't stand up in front of people for 5 minutes and talk?
Good point.
And so it struggled. I struggled, and it got to the point where I realized that if I didn't get help, not only would I not be a teacher, I wasn't going to be successful in anything at all. And that was really eye-opening because I don't remember who it was that said it to me, but they were really quite direct in that conversation, and they told me I had to get my life together. And the biggest point that I had to get was I can't do it myself. I can't do everything myself. And I had to be open to getting and receiving help from other people.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, because I do feel like I very much am in a place where I am like, I don't try to judge anyone. But also at the same time, I can still look at things objectively and categorize things and whatever. And I will say that it really does seem like a lot of people are lacking the ability to communicate properly.
Yeah.
And this isn't like about like rules about communication, but more, it feels like when you're a human being that like half of life is just talking to people. Like that's half of like what the enjoyment in life. And when you talk about like succeeding, like it's literally anything that you want to accomplish involves connecting with other human beings. There is nothing that anybody wants that has anything to do with other than connecting with human beings. And if you can do that, you can be successful. But my point is that it seems like a lot of people are lacking that skill. And it's like, man, that's the way to get everything that you want in your life.
Exactly. You've nailed it. You just encapsulated my entire platform in 45 seconds. But you're right. You're absolutely right.
Tell me more.
It's I'm 57 years old. Okay. And so I'm in the generation where I've been lucky enough to see the progression of how we've actually learn how to not communicate. Right. So when I was a kid and I was in high school, we had just gotten push button phones and, answer machines. When I was in elementary school, we had a rotary phone, right?
Yeah.
And so if you mess up on that seventh number, there you go. You got to
start over.
10 more minutes trying to dial a number, right? And God forbid if it was busy. I mean, now you got to do it all over again. And I remember my father said, we're never getting call waiting because if I'm on a phone call with somebody else, I don't care who else is calling, and I'm probably not going to be on the phone with somebody anyway. So we don't have to even worry about it. Because my father would always say, I'm not home. My mom would answer the phone. Yeah, he's not here. It was hilarious. But if I wanted to go out with my friends, right, we got together, near the end of the school day. I said, okay, we're going to do this tonight. We're going to do that tonight. Call me this time, whatever. And if you didn't make plans, you had to call them, and they may not call you back because they never get the message, weren't home, what have you. And we've progressed to the point where everything is instant. Think about it. If you send somebody a text and they don't respond in like 10 seconds, you start getting nervous.
Yeah.
Right? Well, what are they doing? What's more important than answering my text message I just sent them? It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. And I think we've relied so much on the technology piece and the nonverbal piece, we've completely lost that true interpersonal connection, the handshake, the hanging out with, truly being with somebody. Putting, and when I say that, I mean putting the phone away, not down, not in your pocket, but putting the phone away so that when you get that beep, you're not even, you're not like Pavlov's dog. You don't hear it.
Yeah, people don't know because I do this always right before we get started, but it's the first thing I do is before we do a podcast, I go, okay, I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. So like I have it sitting here so I can see the time, but there's no notifications coming through. Like nothing will come through and interrupt this conversation. I'm sure people can tell I'm very invested in the conversation, right? I'm paying attention. Right. And that's, I totally agree. I feel like that's how, it's funny. I'm not trying to come from a place of judgment, but it is difficult when you're having a conversation with someone and then something goes off on their phone and you're in the middle of talking and they just pick it up and they start doing something. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just stop talking and wait until you're done doing whatever you're doing.
Well, you want to hear something really interesting about that?
Sure.
Okay. So there's research out there about what happens to our bodies chemically when that happens.
Really?
Okay? Yeah. So if you're the one who gets the text message, you get a hit of dopamine and you feel good.
Yeah. If
you're the person who is talking to somebody and that person gets the hit of dopamine, you get the and I forget what chemical it is, but it's a chemical of pain. So how about that? Think about that. So you feel good because you got the text message or a phone call or what have you. And even if you just glance at it, that's what happens. And the person on the other side it's like you've stabbed them in the eye.
Interesting. I didn't know about that, but I mean, I can say from experience that I feel that way for sure.
Because you get, your body tenses up and you go, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember there was some TV show or something where somebody was talking about that, where like they will go, like you're in someone's office having a conversation with them and their phone would ring, right? When people would have like a phone sitting on their desk and, they'd pick it up because, the phone's ringing. It's like, well, I'm here. Like I physically made the effort to be here.
Yeah.
But that person gets, priority. And I think the same is like carries forward to today. And, I feel like it's important. Like, I don't like to come on and like rant about this, what the problem is these days, but I will say, like, I do think that we could be more intentional about it. And
Yes.
again, I don't think I'm not here to tell people what to do, but I will say I am a huge proponent of experimenting. Okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've experimented with so many different things in my life. And I think it's worth experimenting something like this. Like the next time you're with somebody, you know what? I'm going to put my phone on do not disturb while I'm
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with this person for the next 20, 30 minutes or whatever,
Right.
while we're getting coffee. And just see how the experience changes. Like see if you enjoy it more, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
you enjoy it less. I don't know.
Well,
Right. That's
I
why
mean,
it's
like,
an
I think it
experiment.
depends on who you're with, right? I
Sure.
mean, you know,
Yeah, it's true.
and you know what? When I'm talking to people or coaching people on these types of things, I'm real honest with them. I'm kind of like you. I
Mm,
say the only people that are going to come through if we're together is my kids or my wife.
mm,
And I let them know, like 10 minutes before this, I've got an interview at 5 o'clock. I'll let you know when I'm done.
mm-hmm.
So if they're going to reach out, that means that there's a problem,
Exactly.
right? And so
Exactly.
we're not even doing that. And you know, it's okay. I don't know where this word all of a sudden came from. Boundaries, right?
Mm.
My father just said, "This is what's going to happen," right?
Yeah.
He didn't set up any boundaries. He just said, "This is what's going to happen," right?
Yeah.
And you know, so now the term is boundaries, and so if you say that this is what you're going to accept, and this is what I'm willing to accept from other people, and you stick to that, most people are going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And if you you know, so you know, take this again as a for example, if if something important happens, or if a client can't get in touch with me for an hour, what's the worst? What's the absolute worst thing that's going to happen? Nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, you got to wait. You got to wait an hour. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I remember I first heard this concept from Tim Ferriss
Yeah.
in his book, The 4 Hour Work Week. And it was
Mm-hmm.
about email. And what he said that he does is he has this autoresponder email that basically every time he receives an email, this email automatically replies saying that he only checks his email once a day. And so that, like, you know, for them to, like, if you want a response, just so you know, it's going to be tomorrow or later, whatever it is, right? It's like
Right.
24 hours. And I remember when I read that, it changed like everything about how I dealt with my phone, because I was like, you know, that's a really good point. And I will say, it's not like I check my email once a day or anything else, but what I did was I turned off like the badges. You know how like on your phone it'll put a little
Yes.
like number,
Yes.
and I
You can
turned
do
off
that.
like the notification. Yeah, so I did that. So
Oh
there's
wow.
no notifications that come in when I get an email. I just check my email when I want to check it, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's like a bunch that show up at one time, and I'll look at those ones and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I've at that moment as well, since that time, and this was literally like, it has to be like a decade ago now. I have always had my phone on some version of do not disturb since that moment,
Oh wow.
because it
Good
made
for
me
you.
realize that like my attention is being taken by somebody else with different motives, who's not
Right.
living my life and doesn't care about the
You're
outcome of my
right.
life. Right.
Exactly.
I do. And so therefore I'm going to control when I look. So this is what I'm saying. I feel like I don't check, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so there's some days I check my email like a lot. Okay. But then there's other days where I only check it once or twice, and that's good for me on that day. That's whatever is
Right.
working for me that day. But it's the same thing with my notifications. Even right now, when I was saying to you, before we get on the episode, I'm going to put it on do not disturb. I have different versions, right? Where this
Right.
one is literally nothing will come through, nothing. And then I have
Interesting.
other ones where it's like, hey, only people in my contacts, those notifications will come through. Or hey, only these specific people in my contacts, right? Like
Right.
my wife, my
Mm-hmm.
mom, my dad, like specific people, only those people can get through. um I know we kind of like went down this whole rabbit hole, but I think it's good for people to know that this is even an option, because I feel like before I heard about it, I didn't even know. And once
Yeah.
you figure it out, like, you don't have to be like a slave to your phone. And in the same, you know, in line
Mm-hmm.
with what we're talking about when it comes to communication and connecting with people, it really can make a difference. Because what I will say is, when I'm having a conversation with someone, I don't mind if their phone goes off. But
Right.
if we're having like a direct conversation, we're talking to each other and we're in the middle of something deep, and their phone goes off and they pick it up and I'm still talking,
Talking.
I mean, I definitely feel very disrespected by that.
Yes.
But I mean, there's a difference. Like, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying people shouldn't check their phones when they're with somebody, but if I have to check my phone, I will say, hey, sorry, just give me 1 second. My wife just texted me and I just want to make sure it's not something,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Dramatic or whatever. Dramatic was the word. Not an emergency.
Emergency, right.
I mean to say dramatic.
As opposed to, what's going on over there?
Yeah, you just look,
Julie,
and while the person keeps talking.
I'm really listening to what you're saying right
Exactly. I'm like, no. I'll finish when you're done checking. That's okay.
Right.
But that is like one part of communication. I feel like that's important. Is just be like when people talk about open communication,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I envision. Is like,
yes.
If you're going to check your phone when you're in front of me, tell me, hey, just give me a second while I check this. Don't pretend to like continue to listen to me and check the phone at the same time. I know we kind of went down this weird little rabbit hole here,
but you make really good points. And I think, one of the ways that I look at it is from that perspective too, is when you're with somebody, you're having a conversation with somebody, that you should make them feel like they're the most important person in the room. Right? Because how often do you truly get to have a one-on-one conversation or a two-on-one conversation,
sure,
or a group of people, and you're actually talking about what it could be anything. It could be fun times when you're in high school. It could be about something important and serious. It could be about a business deal. It could be about anything. But at that moment, those people that you're communicating with should feel like they are the most important people in the room.
Yeah, I've heard that said before. I think it's a really good point.
Because you provide value, you provide connection, you provide that, wow, this person truly does value me and cares about this conversation or what we're talking about, or whatever that dynamic is, because it's different all the time. But if you can have a focus of, treating those individuals as the most important things in the room at that time, you can imagine some of the good things that can come out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it comes down to overall presence, right? I think that a lot of us, myself included sometimes, right, live in this world where we're like being distracted a lot, right? And we're thinking about like several different things at one time. And I do believe that having like a strong connection, in-person connection with someone, is it's like a byproduct of being a present individual, whether it's in that moment or just in general. For me, I feel like part of the reason why I'm able to make deep connections with people when I'm having a one-on-one conversation is because of the fact that I'm fully immersed in that conversation. And I'm not like actively thinking about making the person feel like they're the most important thing in the room, but
it's just happening.
It's just happening because literally that is what is going on in my brain. I'm not thinking about anything else except for the conversation that I'm in.
Right.
And that's not to like toot my own horn. I'm just saying, like, if you want to have better conversations with people, if you want to make deeper connections, you can start with focusing on being present in general, right? No matter what you're doing, focusing on the one thing you're doing instead of trying to keep track of several things at once.
Right. And you have to be intentional about it. And somebody like me, I've got ADHD really, really bad. I mean, it's bad. Okay. And so it's hard. Even on medication, it's hard. And if you think about us as humans, we're not wired to listen, to truly listen to what other people are saying. Most of us are wired to, think about what we're saying next or how we're going to make our point, not truly listening to whoever it is that's talking to us. And that's the other piece that we have to be intentional about, which also helps provide that idea that they are the most important person in the room. Because if you're actually truly listening and providing appropriate responses to that individual or group of people, that's the next thing that's going to let them feel that, wow, he cares or she cares or she, wow, they're getting what I'm saying.
Yeah, it makes me wonder because there are a lot of people who, when I talk about how much I love people and I love talking to people, like I definitely hear the very opposite of that. Like I hear a lot of people saying, "Yeah, people suck. Oh my gosh, I hate talking to people. It's so right, whatever." And I think, man, I wonder if they've experienced what it is like to actually be fully immersed in a conversation with another person, because I feel like when you do experience that, you realize that it's a gem. It's part of being alive,
Yeah.
and like part of like the whole enjoyment of being here is interacting with other human beings. You know what makes me
Right.
think of is Castaway with
Oh yeah.
Tom Hanks, right? Where he goes
Mhm.
nuts. He's by himself. He goes nuts. And that's
Yeah.
literally every person. Like everybody will eventually go
Go
nuts if they're
nuts.
by themselves.
Yes.
So it's kind of funny how like it seems like this like normal thing to kind of fight that right now, where people are like, oh, people suck. And I don't want to, you're like, actually, I'm pretty sure you'd go insane with other people.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe people suck because you suck. How about that? Do you ever think of that? Maybe it's not the other people that suck.
Well,
You know?
so I will agree in the sense that I do believe that your experience is influenced by who you are being in that
Yes.
experience, right? And so like
Mhm.
if you want to have an enjoyable experience when you're interacting with other people, then be enjoyable,
Enjoyable.
right?
You know,
Bring joy into that experience.
here's a perfect example. I'm glad you brought that up. I give blood every however often you can do. I do it, right?
Sure.
And today was the day to give blood, and I've been aggravated all day. I mean, there's been one thing after another. It's been just aggravating. And so I go in, they take your blood pressure, and my blood pressure's up, and I'm just being me. And she said, well, your blood pressure's up. I said, well, I'm a little aggravated. And she looked at me. I said, I'm not aggravated at you. Right. And so, my personality is coming out and joke around, because number one, you never know what that other person is going through. So don't take your aggravation. Don't take your, whatever baggage you're bringing to the people that don't have anything to do with it right. So like, if I didn't tell you that I was aggravated all day, you wouldn't have any idea.
Yeah, no, I had no idea.
Because unless you were behind it all and you see what was going to happen, and that's the other thing. Just because there's this one thing over here is not going well, doesn't mean that you take it out on everything else. That's not right.
Yeah. Tim, I wanted to ask you something that you had brought up earlier when I asked you about the first time when you said that you threw up.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you like what age you were, and you said college. Yeah. And that really surprised me. Because I thought, wow, was there no opportunity before then for him to speak in front of a group of people? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I wonder, right, if people had more opportunities to communicate in a setting like that, right? Whether you're speaking in front of a group of people or you're making more one-on-one in-person connections. Like, I wonder if part of the reason why that skill is lacking in a lot of people right now is because they haven't had the opportunity to do so in a typically exposured life, if that makes sense.
No, number one, no, we don't have those opportunities. But for me, it was the scenario, right? Because I'd been in the military. I'd led people. I mean, I'd stand up in front of squads and being an athlete and done those things. For me, it was the setting of it was a formal setting. It was the idea of I'm definitely being judged. It was the idea of it's for a grade. It's all those other things that kind of crept in that I started that nobody else was telling me, that it was what I was telling myself. Right. So, and that's kind of how it got to that point. But yeah, I talked in front of people all the time. And that was one of the things that really frustrated with me as I was really looking into it and looking back on it. I could do this over here. Maybe I was good, maybe I wasn't, but I didn't have the anxiety for it. But all of a sudden you put me in that classroom where I've got, let's just say 25 other students staring at me, some professor over here staring at me, and it's going to take down and take notes and what have you. That terrified me. I mean, for whatever reason.
You know, what was interesting about what you just said was that it was like your thoughts. It wasn't what people were actually saying to you. It was the thoughts that were going on in your own head that were making you feel that way.
Mm-hmm. And that,
so when it comes to speaking with confidence, is that tell me like when you're helping people.
So I would say the majority of the people that I've ever helped, that I'm currently helping, it's the conversations that they are having. It's not the conversations that anybody is telling them.
Mm,
It's that inner talk. It's that inner um, lack of self confidence. Obviously, there are other things that do come into play, but it's when we start having those conversations in ourselves. And the reality is, if you're in a formal setting, let's just say a presentation or team meeting, what have you, the people that are in the audience, your team members, whatever, they want you to succeed. They're not
mm,
up there judging you on, wow, his pants are a little too high. Oh, he should not have been wearing those shoes. Wow, she's really wearing those earrings today. That's not what they're thinking. They actually want to hear what you have to say. They truly do. And they're not thinking about you. They're having the same thoughts of, wow, is Steve over here talking about me? What does he think about me? It's not even close to what we think it is.
mm. Yeah, that's so true. So I have a lot of experience actually speaking on stage and speaking in front of people. And for me, I've always found that, see, okay, here's what I'll say. It's tough because I know sometimes when, like, there's a lot of things that have come very naturally to me. And so sometimes it's hard to like quantify why what I'm doing was working for me versus somebody who like maybe they had to get to that point, right? Like where you
Mm-hmm.
said for you it was like I threw up the first time and so I had to work to this point. Whereas for me, I feel like because I was exposed to speaking in front of people at a young age that it is something that came naturally to me. But what I can say is exactly what you just said about like your thoughts. I don't think about what other people are thinking about.
Right.
Right? Like when I'm going, I'm not like thinking, well, what are they going to think of me? And what are
Right.
they going to think of this? Like I literally am not, those thoughts don't even come through my head.
Mm-hmm.
And, like for me personally, what I'm thinking about is just whatever it is, right? So let's say I'm speaking or because I'm also a musician, like if I'm playing
Oh,
music
wow.
in front of
Okay.
people, I'm not thinking about how they're going to take it. I'm just thinking about the information, right? Or I'm
Right.
thinking about like the song or whatever it might
Mm-hmm.
be. And I'm just focused on that. And then, yeah, I don't know. I don't even think about what the people in the crowd are thinking.
Right. And so and you're right on target now. So for me, I'm thinking about how I'm going to provide value for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Am I providing value? And when I can tell that I'm drifting or they're drifting away, how am I going to bring them back?
Mm,
What's going to be the the flow of that. And again, that comes with, that's not something that just comes natural. That comes with practice and experience and these
yeah.
things. But you can't ever get there if your inner conversation is what's bottling things up in your head.
Yeah. You know what's really cool? Something that I've noticed is that success, in my opinion, in any area of life, I feel like comes from your like the thoughts you're telling yourself in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, I don't mean success as in like, like you're number one or something like that. What I mean is like successfully being able to do something
Right.
is that like it starts with the thoughts that you're having in your head. And that's always so cool to me
Mm-hmm.
because that means that like every single person has the ability
Has
to
the ability.
change the results they get
Yes.
because all they have to do is change the thoughts in their, no, I say all they have to do is if it's
But
super super
it's
easy, it
hard.
can be,
Yeah.
but a lot of times it's pretty difficult to do that.
And it's I I've got three brothers, and when I grew up, of my brothers, I was not the strongest, the fastest, most talented, whatever in anything. And so I always approached things from the underdog mentality.
Mm.
Nobody was going to outwork me, and just bet me, bet me I won't be able to do something, and then see what happens, right? And I joke at times that with that mentality, you can imagine some of the things, situations I got myself into. Just tell me
Mm.
I'm not going to be able to do something, and then follow along, see where we end up,
Yeah.
and but that, I think, was probably the impetus of those negative thoughts. You know,
Mm.
be it play the underdog. Play the, okay, I've just got to work harder than everybody else. I've just got to buckle down, just got to dig in, as opposed to just letting the natural talents and the natural, whatever it is, take over, and learning and growing from that.
Mm. Yeah, I had a guest on the other day that we were talking about the like concept of byproducts and how
Hmm.
so many of the things we are attempting to achieve in our life are actually the byproduct of something else.
Yeah.
So like just like we were talking about, right? Like, oh man, that person they speak so like so well on stage and like they're not nervous or anything like that. That's what I want, right? And you're like trying to like make that thing happen when in reality it's like that is a byproduct of other things, right? Like
Right.
that person is confident in the subject they're speaking about. That person is prepared for this speech.
Speech.
That person is overall confident in themselves. They're not self-conscious about XYZ, right? It's like, and
Right.
all of those things added up give you the byproduct of someone who spoke really well and isn't nervous on stage. Would you agree with
Exactly.
that?
Oh, absolutely. And actually,
Yeah.
there's some research out there that says those people that have higher self confidence are better public speakers because of that. Now
Mm,
they say that you still have to have talent to do it, but those people that have higher self esteem, that was the word. If you have
mm,
higher self esteem, you're a little bit better public speaker than those people who have lower self esteem, even
mm.
if you have the same amount of talent.
Interesting. So same talent, but just self-esteem different. Well, if
Yes.
okay, that's pretty interesting.
Mhm.
That's pretty interesting.
I
Yeah,
actually
and
just did a podcast recording that covered that. That'll come out in a couple of weeks, but yeah,
nice.
that's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree with that. I feel like I have pretty high self-esteem,
Mhm.
and like I said, public speaking, doing anything in front of a group of people comes like very naturally to me. I actually have never been able to relate when someone says they get nervous in front of people.
Yeah.
I actually don't understand it.
Right.
And I mean, I can attempt to empathize because there have been times where I've done a show or been on stage and I felt a little bit nervous, but like overall that is not like my experience. I actually
Mhm.
enjoy it. Like I enjoy being on
Right.
stage whether I'm speaking or playing music or something like that. So I like actually hearing other people who have had that experience because I know a lot of people feel that way,
Right.
and so it's kind of cool to be able to help them.
Well, I come from the sport. I got a sport background. My background is in sport marketing, public relations,
Oh, okay.
and even the elite athletes, when you talk to them and they have a game, they still have nerves.
Hmm.
These are the best of the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
The 1% of the 1% of the 1%, and they still have nerves. And so what that tells me and is if they can still have nerves, it's okay for everybody else to have
Yeah,
nerves.
exactly.
But it's how you deal with it, right? It's how
Yeah.
you process it.
Yeah.
It's how you take those nerves and transfer it into positive energy to
Yeah.
go out and perform the task that you need to perform. Whether it's you playing music, whether it's football
Hmm.
player, golfer, what doesn't really matter what it is,
Yeah.
right? And that's the key because I think let's go back to technology for a second here. We influencers. Everybody wants to be an
Hmm.
influencer,
Hmm.
right? And so we're seeing these people that are influencers. Well, I want to be just like this person, but you don't have any idea what that person goes through at all. And so how are you going to be that person? And you get close to, you think you're doing what they're doing, but you don't. And so you don't have any idea what they're doing at all. You don't have any idea about their process. You have to
Hmm.
build your own process to be able to go through that and get better at doing something.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Tim, so how specifically do you help people? So, like, if someone's listening and they want help either with like public speaking or just in general, what you talk about speaking with confidence, how exactly, what does that look like when someone wants to work with you?
Well, so the really the very first thing is we have a conversation, and because everybody comes from a different place. Everybody may want everybody works on different things. You may be strong here, whatever. And we actually have a conversation where I'm actually listening. I'm present. My phone's over here, and and we find out what's the issue. What do you want to work on? But the other thing that I do that may be a little bit different, especially if we're not talking about being on stage, especially if we're just talking about being a better communicator. I have them go and ask their inner circle, what do they need to work on in communication? Because we may
Mm,
think it's one thing, and our inner circle may say, dude, you're not even close.
mm,
right?
Interesting.
And so, if it's the people that are around you as well, that you deal with on a regular basis, right? I mean, because
That's pretty interesting.
if you ask my wife what I need to work on and what I need to work on is probably very different, right? If you ask my kids what I need to work on as opposed to what I think I need to work on in their communication with them, that may be a little bit closer, right? But and then you take that information and then you build a plan on, okay, how are we going to approach that? What does that actually look like? What is it that you're truly interested in doing and improving, and how is that going to help you not just in that relationship? How is that going to help you down the road so that we give you skills, give you knowledge and skills and the ability to transform that communication that's going to benefit you and other people and to help you provide value to other people.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think I like what you said before about asking the people in your circle. I've done that a few times over the years for different subjects, like for different reasons. And I do think that's super valuable. I think that's part of the reason why having a coach is valuable in general, because it's somebody who can give you a third party opinion, but especially the people in your circle, because like when you were saying that about communication, I had a couple of friends in mind in particular that I was like, if they asked me that, right, like, what would I say? I was thinking, I'm like, well, you could, let someone finish their thought, like not cut them off, right? That's what I'm thinking in my head.
Step one.
Yeah, no, but the thing is that like sometimes you're not aware of that. It's funny because I'm saying that about them, but that was me at one point. I remember like I had a couple friends one time who were like, dude, you need to let people finish what they're saying. Stop cutting people off. And I was like, oh, damn, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize I was doing it. But see, this is the thing, too, is that when we talk about byproducts again, like that cutting people off is a byproduct of not listening. Right?
Yes.
Remember before we were talking, what you were saying about not listening with the intention to respond, but listening with the intention to understand. Yeah. And it's like, if you just shift your intention when you're in the conversation, then like your habits within that conversation will be better and the conversation will go better as well. So I do think it's really valuable for someone to be able to have a coach like you who they can talk to about speaking better. You're like, yeah, I know. I love it.
And here's the one of the things that to me is frustrating as a human and an individual, right? In society, if you disagree with somebody, then you hate them, right? But you never truly know that if you disagree with them or not, because you haven't ever actually listened to what they've said. How about taking some time and listen to what somebody says and say, you know what? Number one, I may learn something. I may still disagree with you, but that doesn't make you a horrible, horrible person. Let's bring it down just a little bit, and because I mean, again, me growing up, if you didn't agree with somebody, so what? Whatever.
Yeah,
it was no big deal.
Yeah,
and I think the stakes right now are have been risen so high that we have made it so that we don't even want to listen. To some people.
It's funny. When it comes to like starting this podcast, I have a lot of different motivations behind it. But one of them was that, over the last decade or so that I was driving for Uber, I talked to so many different people. Yeah. And one of the things I realized was that most people are pretty much the same.
They are.
Okay. So there's things that are they're unique about people. And I love getting to know individuals, but also at the same time, you'll see in talking to a lot of people that most people are good. They just want what's good for them, but also they want other people to be able to do what they want to, as long as nobody's infringing on their rights. And like, that's pretty much the extent of it. Okay. And sometimes we disagree about things, but ultimately, so this is my thing. I think that it's really easy to lump people into like good and bad. Like some people are good and some people are bad. And when you do that, you give yourself permission not to listen, right? Mm-hmm. Because now this person is evil. This person is bad. It doesn't matter what they have to say because they're a bad person.
Right.
And if going back to the purpose of starting this podcast is like, I want people to hear this, right? Like I want people to listen to these conversations and see that same pattern that I saw, that it's like, you know what? It is worth listening to someone else, because most people, again, are good and just want good for others as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're willing to listen, you can see that our disagreements are not as big of a deal as people make them out to be.
Right. Have you ever spoken to anybody who said they want polluted air or
No,
dirty drinking water?
Not.
You know what? I can't wait to just get some dirty drinking water. Nobody wants that. Now, how we get to that's a different story. But
yeah,
I mean, let's start with where we can actually agree.
Yeah,
and go from there.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think that like being able, see, this is again the whole byproduct thing. Like when it comes to like being able to have those types of conversations, that is a byproduct of what the stories you're telling yourself in your head.
Yes.
Right. In that context, when we're talking about disagreements and politics and things like that, it's like the story you're telling yourself in your head is going to affect the result of that conversation. If you're willing to go into a conversation and you believe that deep down people are good, that deep down we all kind of want the same things, but we might just have a different idea of how we reach those same things. And you go into it with the purpose of understanding, not convincing, but understanding the other person.
Correct.
It's like, man, it's a complete game changer when it comes to the results of the conversation that you have with people. And I really like when I see it. Okay. When you see someone who goes, oh my God, I hate those XYZ, right? Whatever group of people they want to say they hate. It's like, and if you ask them, it's just like, I just don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how someone could do that. I don't understand how they could be like that. It's like, okay, you don't even realize it. You're saying the words yourself. You don't understand them. You don't understand them. That's the solution. Try to understand them.
Right. It's trying to understand. Sit down and actually have a civil conversation with it. Explain to me, this is what I'm thinking, and I don't understand how you get to this point. Can you help me there? And at the end of that conversation, you may still not understand, but you should have a better understanding.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's
yeah. Well, and part of it too, I will say, like, because I think conversation is important. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. But I do think too, like sometimes it's about also like what you're willing to consume. Like I know there's some people who are like, oh, I won't even listen to that because it's just garbage. And you're like, okay. Okay. Again, right? Like if you believe that deep down people are good, you might very much disagree with it. But like if your goal is to understand, then maybe listen, right? Maybe listen. See, this is the part that's so funny about it. Okay. It seems that people feel like if they listen or if they try to understand, that they're conceding in some way. And they're like, oh, okay, I agree with you. It's like, no, I can fully understand you and still come to a different conclusion than you. Right. And I can still, I can open myself up completely to put myself in your shoes 100% and think about what I would do and what it would be like to be in that situation and still disagree with you. That's okay.
That's okay.
But I think people are afraid, right? It's like you're afraid to open yourself up to try to understand that person. And again, I think it comes back to those beliefs. Like, what do you believe about people? And because if you believe they're evil, then no, you don't even want to try to understand them. But if you believe they're good, you start to I think people can understand this in the context of family. Okay. When you have a family member, somebody that you are close to, if you found out tomorrow that they killed somebody, what are the first thoughts that go through your mind? You know them. You know they're a good person. They've been your best friend growing up. What are the first thoughts that go through your mind? This has to be a mistake. No. I don't. No. This is impossible. It has to have been an accident or something like that. There's no way this person did this on purpose. I need to talk to them and I need to like get to the bottom of this and understand what happened.
Correct. Right.
And this is the thing is that if we believe that people are good, that it should be the reaction. Yes. Now, I'm not saying, you just give everybody a pass, but I have come to this point in my life where I don't care what I hear about somebody. I immediately take the other side too. I go, okay, yeah, maybe that's true, but also I could make excuses for this person for sure. Like I could definitely make excuses for them if this was somebody I cared about, if this was my wife, if this was my parent, something like that. And so I'm willing to consider that maybe there's other sides to this story.
Exactly. And that's the key. You have to be open and willing to that. And here's a here's another good example of that, and you can probably relate to this as a musician. There are bands and musicians out there that when they're on stage and the music that they play, it's just a persona. It's not who they are at all.
Mm.
You know, take Kiss and Gene Simmons. Take, I mean, that's one. You know, I listened to. There's a couple. Professor Rock on YouTube. He does a phenomenal job, and he goes in and interviews these people, and
really?
talk about some of these things. You know, it's just our music. It's not necessarily who we are. Bon Jovi never drank, never did drugs, right? And he was this rock star that had the persona of drinking and doing drugs. It's, you know, and it's open your eyes and actually take some time to get to know these people, get to understand the messages and those types of things. It's what we see may not be the reality of it. That's the other piece too.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Tim, I feel like we covered so much today. I really do appreciate you coming on. If anybody listening wants to talk to you about talking, how would they connect with you?
The best place to reach me is at the website. It's timnewmanspeaks.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Tim, is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Julie, I had a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Keep doing this good work. I love it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Right, bud. Take care.
Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate it. For everything I have to offer, visit howtobeaperson.co.